Unleash your inner genius now and learn anything at lightning speed. Stay with me until the end, and you'll master the game-changing techniques that will help you retain information faster and achieve more in less time. Let's begin with a powerful idea: building your own knowledge network. Imagine your brain as a sprawling web. Every idea you've ever encountered, every memory, every piece of trivia is a thread in that web. When you learn something new, it's like adding another strand. If you connect this new strand to existing threads, the entire web becomes stronger. That's how real learning works. It's not about cramming facts into your head. It's about weaving them together, making them part of the intricate fabric of what you already know. Picture this. You're standing at the base of a steep mountain. The air is crisp, and your breath forms clouds in the chilly air. You look up, and the peak seems impossibly far. That's how learning can feel sometimes, like you're endlessly struggling upwards with no summit in sight. But what if I told you there's a hidden path, a trail that zigzags its way up effortlessly? That's what we're about to uncover, a journey where each step takes you closer to mastering anything you set your mind to. I'll never forget when I first discovered this. I was in college, struggling to remember details for a history exam. Dates and names were slipping through my fingers like sand. Then a professor told me to link every event to something personal, an image, a smell, a song. Suddenly, the Civil War wasn't just a chapter in a textbook. It was the battle reenactment I had seen as a kid, the sound of drums echoing in the distance. The web had grown, and the facts stuck. But maybe right now you feel like you're still on that steep part of the mountain. That's where the exponential learning curve comes in. In the beginning, progress is slow. It's like pushing a boulder uphill, exhausting, frustrating. You might even wonder if you're cut out for this. But keep at it, because once you reach that tipping point, once the boulder starts rolling on its own, it's unstoppable. The key is consistency. Every day, every effort adds to the momentum. Suddenly, things start to click, and what once took you hours to grasp now seems obvious. Have you ever tried learning a new language? In the first few weeks, it feels like your brain is wading through mud. You can barely string together a sentence. Then one day, you're standing in line at a cafe, and a phrase you learned weeks ago just pops into your head. That's the exponential curve at work. Things that seemed random or disconnected suddenly come together. You didn't get smarter overnight. You just reached the point where the web of connections was strong enough to support itself. Here's a secret. The most effective way to speed this up is by connecting new concepts to what you already know. Picture a climber scaling a rock face, using every crevice as a foothold. That's what you're doing when you relate new information to something familiar. It's like finding a handhold in the rock that lets you pull yourself up higher and higher. If you're learning about economics, relate it to budgeting for your weekly groceries. Make it real. Make it yours. And when you start making those connections, you'll find yourself engaging in associative thinking. It's as if you're in a dark room and each new idea is a candle. Light 1, and you can see a small corner of the room. Light 10, and suddenly the whole place is glowing. This is where creative breakthroughs happen. When you're able to jump from one idea to the next, connecting dots in ways that others might not see, you're not just learning, you're creating new pathways in your mind. But why stop at making connections that seem obvious? Push yourself into the world of dissociative thinking. It's the mental equivalent of fusing together two unrelated pieces of a puzzle to form an entirely new picture. Think of it as standing at the edge of a canyon where the two sides seem impossibly far apart. But if you can build a bridge between them, you suddenly have a new perspective that spans the entire view. I remember doing this when trying to solve a problem at work. I was stuck, staring at the same data for hours. Then I decided to look at it from a different angle, as if it were a piece of music rather than a report. Suddenly, patterns emerged, like notes on a staff, and the solution became clear. That's bisociative thinking, blending different perspectives to uncover something entirely new. And don't shy away from mistakes. I used to see them as failures, like bruises on my self-esteem. But I came to realize they're more like battle scars. Each one tells a story. Each one is proof that I was bold enough to try. Think of mistakes as the bumps in the road that keep you awake, that guide you to course correct when you're drifting off path. They're not setbacks, they're stepping stones. When you hit a wall, that's when it's time to change your approach. This is identifying learning blockages. Maybe you've been trying to memorize a formula by reading it over and over. Stop. Write it out. Speak it aloud. Visualize it in different colors. Our minds crave variety. Sameness makes it go numb. Switch it up and watch how suddenly the pieces start to fit together. One of the most powerful tricks I've learned is combined repetition. It's like layering flavors in a dish. Don't just read a book on a topic. Listen to a podcast about it. Watch a documentary. Talk to someone who's an expert. The more ways you experience the information, the more dimensions it has. It goes from being flat words on a page to a vivid landscape in your mind. And speaking of landscapes, think of your knowledge network as a sprawling city. Don't let it get confined to a narrow alley. Expand it. Delve into areas outside your comfort zone. You'd be surprised how learning about art can enhance your problem-solving skills in science, or how a basic understanding of physics can make you a better musician. The world is interconnected, and so should be your mind. If you've ever tried to lift weights, you know you don't start with the heaviest. Gradually increase the challenge. That's how muscles grow, and so does your brain. Start small, build confidence, then tackle the big stuff. It's like climbing a staircase, each step preparing you for the next. You can't leap to the top in a single bound, but with steady progress, you'll get there. And sometimes, when the concepts get tough, simplify them with analogies. Think of complex ideas as tangled balls of string. The analogy is the end of the thread that lets you start to unravel it. Break things down into everyday comparisons. If you're struggling to understand electricity, picture it as water flowing through pipes. Suddenly, the confusion melts away. Teaching is one of the most powerful ways to solidify what you know. Explain a concept to a friend, or even to yourself. When you teach, you're forced to simplify, to clarify, and in doing so, you deepen your own understanding. It's like carving a sculpture. You start with a rough block, but each explanation refines it into something beautiful. And don't forget to use memory strategies. Imagine memory techniques as the map that guides you through a dense forest. Without it, you're wandering aimlessly. With it, you see clear paths, landmarks, and shortcuts. Techniques like mnemonics, mind maps, and storytelling turn raw data into memorable experiences. As you prepare to absorb new information, think of it as planting seeds. Before you can plant, you must prepare the soil. Get your brain ready with a bit of stimulation. Play a game, listen to some music, do a quick mental exercise. This wakes up your mind, making it more receptive. Music isn't just for the background, it's a tool for focus. When you find the right rhythm, music enhances learning. It's like putting a sail on a boat. The right wind will carry you forward. Let the tempo guide your concentration. And lastly, learning isn't complete without emotion. The moments that shape us are ones we feel deeply. If you want to remember something, tie it to an emotion. If you can laugh, cry, or gasp at what you're learning, it'll stick with you. Now, before we finish, let me leave you with a final question. Are you ready to transform your life by transforming how you learn? If so, don't stop here. Watch the next video, Why We Overspend, the Psychology of Money. It'll change the way you think about spending and show you the hidden patterns that drive your financial decisions. You can't afford to miss it.